Well, welcome to the woods, and this is a trackway through these woods that I use very often in the summer months if I'm coming on or coming off the high ground and heading up to the tors and enjoying the open moorland. But I've often wondered, would I be able to get a wild camp in any of these woodlands? Now, there is people around, believe it or not, even in these weather conditions. I could hear a dog not too far away, and where there's a dog you can reasonably guess there's going to be a dog walker, or you'd like to think there would be, because there's livestock around this area. But in any case, I'm just taking stock of my surroundings and listening and trying to figure out when the best time would be to dive further into this piece of woodland. And we'll have a little discussion about all these kind of things in a moment, and in particular woodlands, and what you may be doing similar to what I'm about to do here. So yeah, without further ado, I'm going to try and be a little bit stealthy and get off this track. Right, the small little bit on the opposite side of the fence that I'm going to cross over, it's flanked by agricultural land. I wouldn't say it's overly used, so you could probably get a wild camp in there, but it's on a slope, and like I say, you got the trackway here, and in the summer months you will get a lot of long distance hikers passing through, so you always have that risk you're going to be discovered. But it's looking like nature's decided to help me out here, and the trees that have come down, or branches, have pushed the barbed wire down, so I don't have to risk life and limb to try and access the other part of the woodland, and I'll show you. There you can see the wire's been put down, because quite simply that tangled mess of trees has come down with such force it's pulled all the wire out of all the stakes. So for me, quite simply, I'm going to cross over and make my way into this piece of woodland. Now, I grant you, you're probably thinking this doesn't look very appealing, but on a nice hot sunny day, or when the weather's good, this is quite a really nice piece of woodland when you're walking up through it. But I want to get further down into it to get away from people, and not only people, find somewhere flat, dry, and potentially out of the way where I can actually do a wild camp. And when you look around at some of these trees, particularly those rotted ones, you're going to have to be careful where you pitch up to. And look at that one there, totally rotted, dead. Yeah, this is going to be one of those recce's where you really want to do it in daylight like I'm doing it now. You do not want to be just pitching up in the dark and taking chances. So, as you can see, that is rotted throughout the whole tree. That's going to go. When it does, that's going to come down with a bang. Right, let's keep making our way down through here. Look at that one there. It's actually started to explode outwards from the actual main trunk under the force and pressure. And there's two more like it there. Now I'm making my way down the well, out of the top of the ridge line where the worst of the quality of trees are. It's obviously more sheltered by the wind, and it's opened up into better quality woodland all the way around, and looking like it to be a lot safer. So I can already see places I could pitch up, and I'm far away from the main track now. The only problem is, as I go further down, looking at the map, I do know there is actually farms. I'm still a fair way away, but which wouldn't be a problem for me because I'm on my own. I suppose if you were, you know, 2, 3, 4 of you, and you were having a bit of a drink and a bit of a laugh and messing about and enjoying yourself, you know, noise would travel and possibly down into the farms. But you know, for me on my own, this is already looking pretty good. There's a lot of big granite boulders here. I think I might have found an ancient trackway. No, it's not a trackway. It looked like it. I think it's like when you get heavy rainfall off the high ground and it floods, it makes its way down here. Looks like a trackway, but I think it's just where all... But then again, it looks like carts would have gone up here on either side. I'm beginning to think it is more of a trackway, you know. Behind me you can see an absolute mammoth tree, and I have no idea how it's defying gravity like that. It's humongous, and it's probably 1.5 meters around at the bottom of the trunk. It's huge, but this woodland has a really nice mystical feel about it, particularly with the mist rolling through the trees. There's some rock formations inside of it. You know, everywhere's covered in this damp, luscious carpet of moss. There's plants growing out of the trees. There's spiders' webs with dew on it. There's flittering glimpses of deers just flitting through the trees. It's really magical, and I'm loving it here. And I can see a few places already I can get my tarp up and spend a night here. But I'm not sure if I can hear wind or rain further along in the... No, it's not wind and rain. I'm sure it is actually a river. But I'm going to investigate. Now, like I said, I did think it was possibly wind and rain because I've moved a little bit higher, and the tree tops are moving a little bit. You might be able to see up there, they're just moving a little bit. Well, it's definitely not the wind and rain. It's really sounding like a massive cascade over here, so let's keep walking and investigate. I'm quite excited actually. It's a new area, and this is what it's about when you do recce's for wild camps. You're coming to bits of woodland that you've never been before, and it's all exciting. Obviously I'm on the lookout and I'm scanning, as you do and would be, for potentially, you know, other people in the woods. But I'm definitely here by myself today. But I think I've got my first glimpses of a small waterfall. Right, I'm following the sound, and you might just be able to make out a small waterfall over there. I don't know what size it is till I get there. But yeah, let's make our way up here. Oh, that water's coming down with a fair bit of force up there. Let's go and have a look. Right, the water's really clear. You can see the gravel in the stones there. but it's having to drop a fair way here now. Like I said, we're not too far off the high ground. And you don't have to go too far around here before it gets steep. Now there really is something mystical about waterfalls. They really do draw you in. In fact, it was worth just coming for a recce to find this. Although I can see some blue pipe there, so does that mean that this water source is being used and it's being piped off somewhere? It's coming down a fair way actually, and quite fast. Obviously I'm around water now, so you want to be careful you don't end up either getting wet by sliding in. I can see various blue pipes. I've got a feeling it's being used as a water source. No, that goes nowhere. Look at this. This is making a fair noise. And it's a fair climb all the way up there. I'm going to go because I just want to see how much water's coming out the top bit out there. So not only a waterfall, what I thought was a track is actually a track that winds its way up over this steep hill in woodland. And here it is. You can see it fords this river which has the waterfall. And it continues off into the forest. Behind me, you can see it goes down through this woodland. Now a lot of this woodland looks to be what you technically call ancient woodland. So this track, by the condition of it, you can see hasn't been used in hundreds of years. So what a find, a waterfall and an ancient track. And I'm pretty sure very few people like me have come across this. Possibly the landowner, well, the landowner would, because I can see where they've been trying to tap into this river for water, although it doesn't look like they even use it for that anymore. But what a find. Right, I'm leaving the waterfall and the river stream behind, and I'm walking on the trackway, the old trackway. It's got a bit of a Lord of the Rings feel, this little bit of woodland. But yeah, in all seriousness aside, when you're doing recce's, you really are throwing yourself totally out there. And you know, to come here and do a wild camp, yeah, definitely possible off the bat, spur of the moment, and I possibly could and would have, but to come and do a recce and have a firm idea of what's here and where it is going to make all the difference. And yeah, I've already scouted out 2 or 3 potential camp spots, one by the waterfall, but it's probably going to be too noisy there overnight. But yeah, I want to keep continuing along because it looks like it goes into a nice bit of woodland over here. So you can see the trackway going down there, but over in this little area over here, it looks like there's a potential for another camp. I'm just going to go over and have a little look, and it's more sheltered from the wind in this part of the forest. Absolutely beautiful and enchanting in here. So if you're thinking it's going to be a real massive effort to get into a location like this, I grant you, with some of the setups you see people with on YouTube, but if you follow my channel or seen any of my wild camping, everything I need to sustain me in reasonable comfort, I can get into a full army Bergen, and that will allow me to spend a night here. And I'm reasonably fit enough at the minute for it not to be too big an issue for me to carry a pack of that size and what I want. Any fill can be, you know, cold, wet and miserable. I always take enough for me to literally, you know, if the unexpected happened. And if you're up on the high ground where this is just off the moorland, you really need to take stuff if the weather was to change, and you know, for all eventualities. So I could quite easily do a wild camp here. I'm actually talking to you and I'm actually looking around at the moment because I'm just seeing spots all over the place. I could pitch up a tarp. Now this stuff is hanging off all the trees here because it's the perfect damp, wet environment, and it's called Old Man's Beard. It's got a real nice straggly feel to it, but all the trees in here have got it hanging off them, and just everything. You touch some moss, bucket loads of water just comes straight back out at you. But I'm going to find a nice place to have a cup of coffee and a little chat with you guys now. I'm really chuffed with this recce. I've found 2 or 3 places, or possibly more, I can put a tarp up, and I've got some stunning woodland to you know, appreciate and well, just soak it in, like, you know, when I'm here. And it's just so big, it's vast, this piece of woodland. I'm loving it. I've just stumbled across this old beech tree, and it is honestly huge. Absolutely humongous. But I'll give you some context on the size of that trunk, and I'm stood back probably 30 meters from it here. So my hiking stick there that you can see is 1.20 meters. So you can imagine how wide around that actual beech tree trunk is. It's huge. That would keep my log burner going for... This tree on its own would probably keep me going for at least 10 years plus. Absolutely humongous. Right then, let's have a little chat. I'm obviously in a woodland I don't own, and I'm guessing pretty much most of us that wild camp and bushcraft don't own woodland. Just a little bit of a backstory. An old farmer passed away near me, and when his farm was put up for auction, the land was split down into parcels and in some cases fields. And I was told, quite simply, it fetches more money to do that. But one field, it was pointed out to me, which I was talking to a gentleman whose cottage overlooks this particular field, he found out that field sold for £140,000, and it's a reasonably flat field. It just drops off to a stream at the bottom and is a bit boggy there, but that was 14 acres, so that roughly translates to £10,000 an acre, and that's for reasonable agricultural land. You look for woodlands, you'll be lucky if you can find anything for £10,000 an acre. It's usually starting at about 1,500 an acre, and that all depends on the type of woodland, where it is it flat, does it have water, does it have good access, and so on and so on and so on. And you can quite clearly see that for the likes of me, that puts it out of the range of a possibility of owning your own piece. So then you obviously have to come and do your wild camping or bushcrafting in the manner I'm doing it, in the true spirit of what we call wild camping here in the UK, or at least in England and Wales. Now, when you actually start getting down to the nitty-gritty of it, and some people say nobody should own anything, I disagree totally, because owning things is the fundamental basics of our freedom here. You know, our freedoms. If you can't own nothing, well, you're not free. And let's face it, if I won the lottery, I would love to go and buy a piece of woodland just the same as I'm in here. So I would not want to be told, quite simply because of my social status and class, that I wasn't eligible to buy anything, even if I won the lottery. It's your fundamental right, no matter how poor you are or how rich you are, you could potentially own this if the means became available to you. So, you know, that idea that, you know, nobody should own anything really doesn't wash with me. But because I don't own anything, this is how I go about experiencing the woodland and that. But it comes with a few caveats, and that is, because I don't own it, I have to be even more careful when I'm in these environments to leave no trace, leave no evidence that I've been around, and don't go out of my way to antagonize or let the landowner feel that he's being taken advantage of by my presence being in here. I must be invisible to him to the best of my knowledge, and I like to think I do that, and I practice what I preach. So I've got my coffee, and you've probably gathered by now, I'm loving soaking this up. Is this piece of woodland remote? Yeah, for the UK, it's pretty remote. I'm just off the moorland. The nearest farms are down in the valley, although, like I said, noise does travel on a quiet, still day. And as you've seen, access isn't the best. And this woodland, possibly because it sees no management, is not in the best condition, what we know as a best condition. And I would say, you know, you have to be forest and woodland aware, because potentially it is unsafe for the unwitting and newbie wild camper or bushcrafter. I've pointed out some of the dangers, but yes, you know, you don't have regular phone service here. The nearest dwellings, you know, well over a mile away from me here. It's, you know, it's possibly as remote as what I could possibly say you're going to get here in Cornwall. And I would like to think, because of the access problems, that I wouldn't well expect to find anybody else doing what I'm doing here. The cars at the beginning of this video, they were quite simply out walking on the moors, and that's another set of challenges you would need to, to be prepared for if you were going out doing that, because we've got heavy mist and rain, visibility's dropping. It's the wrong time of afternoon, it's starting, light is beginning to fade. You wouldn't want to get caught out on the moors in these conditions, and you've seen what the PT conditions get like. I have actually been out on the moors and disappeared up to my bum in peat bogs, and that starts to get a little bit dangerous. But in any case, yeah, because I can't afford woodland, this is how I go about it. A recce. Now I've touched on this. I always suggest come and do a recce before you actually pitch up. Get the atmospherics, learn the woodland, learn what's around you. Look who owns the woodland, and that's easily available to you for free of charge. You can go on land registry, HMRC land registry I think it is, and you can see who owns the land that you're planning on being on and around, and if indeed the farms nearby actually own this ground. So if they don't own it, they're possibly not going to be coming up into the land. There's a whole raft of what you can do before you actually start doing your wild camping or bushcrafting, to ensure that you have the best knowledge and you make the least impact when you're out here. So then guys, by doing a recce, what am I looking for? I'm looking for if hunting is taking place in here. I'm looking to see if people are moving around here, whether there's any evidence of like woodland management, if there's any evidence that people are harvesting from the wood. I'm looking to see, quite simply, if people are using it for recreation themselves. Maybe other wild campers or bushcrafters, or indeed people just owning the woodland for the sake of woodland owning, for walking their dogs. And believe it or not, I have read cases of people buying woodland or having the means to buy woodlands just to walk their furry friends, the dogs. I've got nothing against that. If you've got the means, crack on, but boy, wouldn't it be nice to be in that position. But I'm looking and scouting it out for every eventuality of how this woodland could be used, and possibly how I can avoid detection and not impede on the owner's ability to enjoy this woodland themselves. They don't need to know I've been in here, and more than likely, if I'm sensible and use my wits, they'll never know I've been here and enjoyed this woodland in a manner that they probably wouldn't want to enjoy themselves. I will get to camp here, spend the night here, soak up all of what nature has to offer here, and they will never know about it. And they possibly wouldn't even want to do what I'm doing in the woodland, but I'm not giving them a chance to be upset by my activities. The whole aim of this game and doing the recce is to make sure the landowner is happy, and he's happy in the fact he doesn't even know I've been here, and me to be happy knowing I haven't been discovered and upset somebody. But if you are ever discovered, the golden rule is be apologetic, move on straight away, apologize profusely, don't claim ignorance, just apologize, and see if you can, if you've got like a 6-pack with you or a 4-pack with you, offer them to the landowner and say, I'm extremely sorry, you won't see me again, and move on. And another tip, never have hatchets, blades or any article on display in your bags, tucked away. But yeah, this recce is, for me, has been a success. I can already see where, what and when. I won't be coming here during the winter. This is definitely going to be a summer one due to the wet conditions, and I don't want winds because of, well, quite simply, this woodland is an old woodland and the canopy isn't exactly the best. But yeah, definitely been worth my afternoon coming out and doing this. So yeah, if you're still determined to buy, you know, woodland, and you know you're of limited means, you know, firstly you've got to be able to justify it to your family, because obviously you need somewhere to live. And obviously I'm lucky I own my own home, but I don't have, you know, the means, even though I own my own home, to buy a woodland. Now, I did say 1,500 an acre earlier. It's not 15,000. That's the, you know, what I'm talking about. Now, you will find smaller parcels of land usually or traditionally fetch more than larger parcels, because quite simply a smaller portion of land, either it be agricultural land or woodland, is technically viewed as more desirable. For instance, a small paddock to the equestrian world or the new age homesteader, they're prepared to pay a premium to get that smaller parcel of land, so they don't have to go and buy that bigger parcel of land, like the 14 acres I was talking about at 140,000. They might only want 2-3 acres, so that 2 to 3 acres can be 40, 50, 60,000 pound. Off the top of my head, just making those figures up. You'd have to do your own research, and it all depends on locally where you are. But smaller parcels of land will traditionally command a bigger price. And with woodland, you've also got to take into consideration, is it loggable? And on top of that, the trees may come with preservation orders. There may be environmental concerns, like the wildlife within that woodland may be protected, so you wouldn't be able to just go in and do what you want. And on top of it, like I said, the trees, you wouldn't just be able to fell trees willy-nilly. They may have protection or a protected status. And quite often with woodland, it's the issue of access to it. And you know, it might come with covenants and restrictions, which means you wouldn't be able to conduct any paid activities inside of it. Like I said, there's a whole raft of things you would need to take into consideration when you're buying it. And on top of that, a lot of people feel that they can just buy bits of land and live on it regardless. That's not strictly true here in the UK. There's a raft of regulations and rules, and like I said, I'm not an expert. I'm just pointing out things aren't as simple as you may first think, and you'd have to do your own research on that. In fact, a disclaimer here, I'm not even encouraging you to come out and wild camp or bushcraft, you know, like I am, you know, when it's not my woodland. All I'm doing is showing you how I'm doing it, or just bringing you along so you can see me how I'm doing it. Definitely I'm not suggesting this is what you should be doing. It is not unheard of for people to actually buy land to do wild camping and bushcrafting unimpeded by the restrictions that I have and other people experience as well. And I think there's quite a few channels on YouTube themselves where the people demonstrating the art of bushcrafting and wild camping actually own the land that they're doing it on. But like I said, they're in the extreme minority. You know, to be fair, most of us, you're going to be doing it the same as me if you're doing it. And I've already said, don't follow my lead. But yeah, I'm going to finish up my coffee and I'm going to head out of here. But this has been extremely pleasant. And I've whiled away an hour just sitting here, just soaking it all in. But I do have to get out of here. I do not want to be fumbling my way through this piece of woodland with fading light. And it did take me quite a while to get back to this place here. So yeah, I do have a map and compass because I'm not far from the moors. And if I did extract out from the woodland on the moors, I at least wanted the knowledge that if I had no phone signal, I could at least use a compass and map. But yeah, I'm going to wrap this up and head off out of here. So stay safe, take care, and I hope to catch you guys out on the trail.